daughter, she offered to, she's in volleyball. So she got some new digs, some new sunglasses. I just thought they were pretty cool. I think I should get some. So thank you, Cora. Anywho, we're here. We're live. It's Friday. Typically, Friday's a little quiet because everybody's out partying. And that's how you spend all your money. But anywho, you're more welcome if you jump on here. I had some questions. I had some stuff in the comments. And we're going to try a few things. Obviously, if I jump off. Ooh, look at that. A thumbs up right from the get-go. I appreciate that so much. Vipers? Is that like what these brands? I don't think we can afford the Vipers. I think these are something else. Polarized. And let's see here what these ones are. What is that? What brand is that? Focus. Kadeem? No Vipers. Vipers, are those good? Maybe I'll get some Vipers. Anywho, like I said, I'm on here. You guys are more than welcome to ask any questions, garage door, personal, business, any other kind of business. I wanted to jump on here. Like I said, I'm gonna, if nobody's asking too many questions, what I'll do is I'll kind of ramble on about some things that were in the comments that I was thinking about. I came back to the shop for a minute because I dropped off the spring turner for the guys. Let me grab it. So here you go. Back at the shop. Hopefully the guys will have a chance to use it. It's kind of like everything in life I've noticed. I always tell the kids this. It's always about preparation. Everything is preparation, right? Kind of like if you do body work on a car, you gotta do all that preparation, right? To finally spray the paint and make it look sweet. A lot of preparation. All right, let's see what we got here. Sounds good. Oh, sounds good already? I didn't even have to ask. I love it. Thank you. So sounds good. That's awesome. Because that's normally always my, it's really crummy when you jump on here and the sound's no good. And you're sitting here talking and people are like, can't hear you. And you're like, oh man, I'm so sorry. Like that was a waste. And you always put all the energy into the messages and everything. So the lives are nice. And like I said, you're more welcome to asking questions. So, Justin. Justin puts on here. He's got Sherwinder, question mark. I'm not going to say, I think mine's a spring turner. I did look up the other day at the prices, and I would kind of have to lean. I'm going to probably hook up with Tony. Tony is a subscriber. He's become a good friend. I love him. We like to harass each other. And he's working on a very gnarly door right now. One of those doors that's kind of upside down and backwards, that kind of garage door right now. He was very polite. He said, you want to come down and help? And if he was closer, I definitely would. But I think he's roughly about a 3-hour drive one way. So only thing I might be good for is bring a drink or something and a little moral support at the end. But I know those jobs can take quite a bit of time, especially when they're that big, because how do you dissect a door when they're upside down and backwards? And it's I wish I had a picture of it. I don't have a picture of it. It's on my phone. I can't get it. It's not fun. So I finally caught a live video. It's been a while. That's right. It's great. I'm glad you're here, Rob. What's the Canadian doorman have? He says, what's that spring turner worth? I don't exactly know rates to the penny, but I know it was right around, I think it was 14 and some change. So 1,400. So basically $1,500. I'm still in love with it because I didn't show some videos at the end, but once I kind of got the hang of it, it was pretty easy to use. And what I realized was I jammed out, 2 doors. I jammed out 2 doors that were next to each other, and we were using the scissor lift, which is a big thumbs up. And I realized after I wound the springs, I wasn't exhausted. You know what I mean? Like I didn't break a sweat. I was like, wow. You know what I mean? And it's like it's one of those things, a psychological barrier that you have to get over. It's kind of like if you ever did like cables back in the day and used a hammer, right? And that's how you pounded it, and you're like, oh, that's better, it's faster, it works. But once you get the crimper and you just feel more confident with the crimps, the spring turner, it worked. And somebody commented on one of the videos, and they were saying, well, when it gets close to the drum, you still got to use bars anyways. Honestly, you can get pretty darn close because the mechanism detaches, and the way they got the coupler, it slips apart, and you can take everything apart. So I mean, I was within, gosh, I want to say 2 to 3 inches from the drum, because I noticed that. I went, oh crap, we've all been there, especially if you're a seasoned garage door installer. Winding bars, tight spaces. You know how it is. You're sitting there and you're like, oh, that's gonna get trapped. Your ratchet wrenches, stuff like that. We've all been in those pinches where it's like, it's just super tight. So I was pretty impressed because the way they have the coupler, that it's just a little click, and everything kind of comes apart, and then you can get your pins out of there, I guess you call it, for the rotating assembly. So I was pretty impressed. I was like, wow, I guess they kind of looked into this a little bit. Now I don't know if the Surewinder, I'm sure it will, if it could get into that, like it could be that close. Because I mean, the spring turner is kind of bulky. It is heavy, but it did the job. And I was just like, you know what? I was like, it was one of those things I thought, even if nobody else wants to ever use it, I'll use it. You know what I mean? Because it was, I think it set home to me when I went and seen a guy. He drives forklift now, right? He dissolved his business, whatever. And he was saying that, he had shoulder surgery. And I was like, whoa, man. I was like, so that was part of the reason why I thought, hey, if it's even one job a month that they use it, or 2 or 3, especially like we just did this big 12-door job. And so, I mean, what is that? 24 springs, or, I mean, it's double, you know what I mean? So that's a lot of springs, you know what I mean? Where that tool had been really handy. He says, guys, I like your style. You look cool. Good. I hope you like like I said, a shout out to Corlin. She helped me out with some sunglasses to make me look a little better tonight. That's all. So anyways, so one person commented on one of the videos about that spring turner, and I just wanted to bring it up, and I'm not throwing any mud. Oh, and by the way, if you guys don't mind while you're here, if you please hit the like button. It just helps bring more people in, more conversation, more ideas, and we can all learn more things together. I really appreciate it. So if we can get the likes up, I mean, like if we can shoot for 10 here, relatively soon, that'd be cool, man. I really appreciate that kind of stuff, and I'm glad you're here. And I hope you guys are having a good Friday, or just a good night, or good day wherever you're at, because I know we get some people across the old world here. I don't think I've ever had any Russian guys or ladies on here. I don't know if there's a block, they could block the internet of some sort, you know what I mean? But I don't think I've ever had some Ukraine. I've had, what else have we had? Canada guys here, right? Doorman, I'm assuming. And then we got, what was the other one? The UK. We got Sean out there. He's good. I gotta email Sean back. Sean, I'm super sorry. I haven't emailed you back. So, unknown is unknown. Says, did you see any problem with the 2024 Ford Mustang? I don't know if I'd be a really good question for that. I do watch cars very religiously, but I'm more of a van/truck person. So I don't know. That'd be something somebody would have to kind of help answer. Because isn't that the new Mustang? Didn't they change it to the electric now? Which I thought was really silly. The Mustang was always good powered V8 stuff, and now we switched it over to, electric. I'm really disappointed lately in Toyota. Toyota's got stuff coming out too that's turbo and 4 cylinders, 6 cylinders, and it's kind of a good thing to bring up, because that is something that in this industry that some people can overlook. I have a lot of years in it, and it fights you when you're in the service. You're a construction worker, you're whatever, right? Anything if you have to use a vehicle, you have these same problems. And I tell you what, it's not fun because, like for us, right? We bought back while 2017 the Ford, or I'm sorry, the Chevy Sierra and Savannah, I think it's Savannah, and the Express, right? Thinking, oh, good old, Now I'm hearing there's problems with the transmissions. The transmissions changed from like I think the '04 era, what I'm used to. And it's like, man, what a bummer. So it's like I just talked to a transmission guy today, and he said that changing the fluid is not going to hurt. But he says I can't say for sure because the torque converter is what kills them, because there's some weld spots, they get hot spots on them. I don't know. And it's like, oh my gosh. And then when you go to purchase these new vehicles or even used vehicles, EPA problems, man, I tell you. And then it's like on top of when you got to deal with vendors sometimes, and then you got to deal with problems with just, they change product on you, and you're like, I've been using this for 5 or 10 years and I've had really good luck with it, and now you want to change it up on me? And it bums me that we can't, even though they said, look, this is cheaper for us. If you want to buy this, you still can, but it's going to cost you 20, 40, whatever, depending on what it is. But we don't give us options. Drives me nuts. I want options, for the good stuff. Give me the good stuff. What's the guy here? They keeping the V8, he says. What is this? Oh, we better get... Rob's still here. Rob's got the power to do this too. Just by the way, Rob, better put it out there. We'll get rid of that one. So they keep the V8 as long as possible. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not too far. I know Ford's had a lot of callbacks lately, or recalls. A lot of warranty issues. I mean, Ford has been just really dropping the ball. I can't do that for him. So, anyways, let me get back to a little bit on. I think I got that right. Boom, there we go. So the one gentleman that commented, right, and what it is that with a Surewinder or the spring turner, right? A lot of people don't want to do preparation and a lot of stuff, you know what I mean? And I was one of them too, right? But I can't tell you, this is kind of what I've heard, right, before. If you could imagine, right, if you're a young man, and what it is if you look at it and you only got one car, let's say you could pick any car you want, right? And you only get one car, but that's the only car you get for the rest of your life. You take really good care of it, right? You change the oil, make sure the brakes are good, not grinding, all these kind of things, right? Try to like keep people from denting it, wash it, try to keep from rusting or whatever, just going back into the earth. You have to think about your body that way. That was the best thing I ever heard. So that's why sometimes, like, if you can squeeze a scissor lift for a job, get a scissor lift. If you can get yourself one of these, spring turners or a Surewinder, I would highly recommend it, because you don't feel it now. And I was one of them too, right? When you used to jump out of trucks and they say, you're going to feel that one day. And I tell you what, you start feeling it. You know what I mean? It starts wearing on you. And so it's like, what I'm trying to explain is, like, the sooner you can get smarter and use this more than this, you know what I mean? You're going to be better off. Oh, look at that. We got one. Rob jumped in there. He's on it. Exterior and construction. You can take it. I don't know what is McKay. What you got there? What you saying? He says, thanks. I will subscribe. All right, good. So Justin's got, shoulder savers. People, you don't feel it when you're young, you know what I mean? But you are there is stuff happening. You know what I mean? It's like everything, right? I mean, you're getting up and down. It's physical. I always look at it and I always kind of use the thing like, technically you should never get off the couch, right? Because I mean, every time we do stuff, everything is wearing on our bodies, right? You're driving a car, to you're running, you're exercising, you're fishing, you're golfing, whatever. You're wearing on your body, So there's kind of weird, but anything you can use to make your life a little easier. I mean, it'd be like, the way I kind of look at it is I go, if I told you to go back to a hand crank drill, you'd be like, you're freaking nuts, dude. Well, that's what I'm trying to get at. If you can start saving up the money, and you got to think about, like, the safety and the longevity of yourself. You know what I mean? So it's a really good idea to, if you can do it, invest into it. And hopefully me and Tony will get together. We'll do a little video comparing the two. I have a feeling he might come out ahead of me. So here goes. We'll see. Justin, he says, I'm 32 and I use a Surewinder. Heck yeah, man. I don't blame you. I've definitely pushed it off for too long. I'm very, very lucky that I've been there, the sweat, the grease on your face, your hands and everything, and you're just tearing it out. Right. And I can't even say, I could probably have damage from it, because I have a lot of stuff in my neck area and stuff like that. I've never noticed it, so much, but I can feel it. I can feel it when you got those big winding bars and you got those big springs. It starts taking a toll on you. And it's like one of those things, like if it takes you an extra, whatever, 5 or 10 minutes, I don't think it really takes that long, maybe 5 minutes to set the mechanism up, to wind it for you, man. And like I said, when I got to the end, I had it down, man. It's like you just back it off, everything relaxed, get your set screws, blah, blah, blah. It was like wada bing, wada boom. It was really, I was like, dude, this is great. It's just, you got to get over that mental part where it's like, all right, I got to set this up. And like I said, if you got a scissor lift, you're golden. For me, doing it off a ladder, it was a little sketchy. I ain't gonna lie. I'm not used to ladders anymore. I definitely, I think I convinced Josh about that. I told him, I said, dude, a scissor lift is another man. I said, it's better than another man almost, because you can just do so much. You have hydraulics, you can move around, you can keep all your crap in the bottom. Mine always gets a mess. It's like a junk drawer from heaven. You know what I mean? You got all your nuts and bolts and everything down there. Justin says, absolutely, says, Justin's got, oh yeah, it's right here too. I don't want to miss it. It says 30. He says, you don't work smarter. Wouldn't you work smarter and less harder? Yes. And then absolutely, hand crank drill is great example. That's the only way I can kind of compare it. Like you wouldn't go back. And so now that I've messed with it, I would definitely always try to push it. Maybe on some residential, maybe I might, you know what I mean? But if I had the lighter one, maybe a Surewinder or the lighter version of the spring turner, I'd probably use it for sure. Like I said, I don't see why not. It's really nice. You don't have to have like bars and stuff. Let's think about this for a second. Something just came to my brain. And I remember when I was working on that one, I'm just trying to think of what the outcome would have been. And it was a place up on the beach, and the guy had a nice car. We moved the nice car, right? Because I was like, yeah, just in case something happens, like I don't want your restored car to get damaged. Let's push it. It was on rollers, so we pushed it off to the side. Well, I didn't realize it was a what do you call it? It was from Menards. It's an Ideal door, and it had I think they call it an Easy Set. Well, he took the cover off where the gear was, that you would normally use like for a residential person, DIYer for their drill. He took the cover off, so that gear was just floating, right? Well, I came in there with my winding bars, and I remember I started winding the spring. Well, the spring was trying to stretch or whatever, and it was pulling that gear out, and I didn't know that. And I remember that thing finally let loose, and I remember that my hat just, man, my hat went off. The winding bar hit the ground. And I remember seeing it, like watching it, kind of like slow motion, like it hit and it scurried across the ground. I'm like, and then I remember my hat flew off, and it's like, I was like in shock. I was like, how did this even happen? How did my hat fly off? And all I could think is a winding bar or something, it swung in front of me, flipped my hat off, the winding bar hit the ground. I remember I was completely embarrassed. I was in shock. Like, what, and then the guy comes over and he's like, oh my God. He's like, I'm so sorry. I forgot to tell you, I took the cover off that gear. And I'm like, oh, because, I had the stationary cone or the winding cone part, and I was doing it with the garage door winding bars, and, if I would have had probably the spring turner on there, I wouldn't have had projectiles maybe flying, it would have all just kind of stayed encapsulated. So there might be some safety to it. It's really hard to get over the curve of trusting it. But I always had a hard time. I had a time one time too. I had a hard time with winding bars and the little cones and the, you're going to snap them and how can they absorb all this force? But once you do it more and more and more, I think it's just more comfortable, It says I had was it called a crackhead steel? Was it? I was, mine, has, I think what you're saying, Justin, is somebody stole yours or one of them. That'd be a bummer, dude. That is kind of one of the things about it where it's like, being expensive like that, it's one of those things that you hate to see it go and go in the scrapyard or a pawn shop or something. Okay, all right. Caleb's on here. I like that name. What is the main piece of advice for a young man wanting to start his own business? Oh, great question. Great question. That rabbit hole can go pretty deep, and you're always more welcome to either, you can always email me if you want to go a little more in depth or something like that, or throw comments on here. I think what it is, and what I'm always trying to divulge, to people in the videos and stuff like that, even with my kids, things of that nature, is that you got to, when I first started out, I remember thinking that everything had to be like perfect, right? I had to have the uniform, I had to have a hat. This was not the right one, obviously, but I had to have a hat. I had to have the truck. I had to have, all this stuff. And what I would like to see, it's not, like I said, this is, just a guy on YouTube, so not legal advice or anything of that nature. I don't want to see you in court. I got enough stuff to do. But the thing is, I'd like to see people just get out there and try. Because once you start doing something, you might realize real quick, oh, this isn't for me. Like, these customers are dum-dums, or I'm not mechanically inclined for this, or maybe I don't really like the electrical part of this. It might swing you to another direction, but as long as you try, right, get out there and just start doing it, and just start doing it. Like, the best way to do it is if you got a steady job, try to start doing it after hours. Try to start doing it maybe on the weekend. Do it for some family members, right? And I think a lot of people get caught up with, well, I got to get this much. I want to get paid this much or this and that. Just remember, there's people out there that go 30, 50, $100,000 in debt. And they come out and what do we all hear? You know what I mean? They're working at the McDonald's, or they're working here, not even in their field. So for you to even go out there, and I've been testing it, right? I've been doing a little beta test myself. Put out there that, maybe they buy the product or whatever, and you'll do the free install. Because if you have no clue, right, and explain that to them, to say, look, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm trying, I'm going to do my best. You know what I mean? You're not going to be, you're going to have the opener because we're going to purchase it at a box store or whatever. But anyways, with overall business, just get out there. That's the biggest thing, because that's how you'll learn. When you start interacting with the customer and then you realize, oh, that didn't go so good. I'm not going to do that again. They didn't pay me. Oh, we got 5 likes, by the way. Appreciate the likes. If we can get it up to 10, let's try for 10, guys. So I kind of hope that somewhat answers. But like I said, I thought I had to have all the stuff, and then, you can, it's like you can almost go bankrupt before you even start business, because realistically, you need cash flow. You know what I mean? You need to start getting the grease moving through things, and you need to start doing this and make $20 here and make $40 here and do $60 here and do this one for 120, and you're going to keep learning, right? And then you're going to retain it. It's kind of like riding a bike. It's just like, how to ride like almost every bike, but every bike has its own little twist. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this one's got a gear selector, or this one's the brakes are on the handlebars, or, and that's how garage door openers and garage doors are kind of like. That's why, like, for me, it's like garage door is a garage door. You know what I mean? Like, it's just they try to tweak their hinges and stuff like that. Some of it I like, some of it I don't. Some of it, doesn't, whatever. But I understand the concept, and once you get the whole grip of everything, it's really not too bad. So, but everything's like that. I'm sure lawn care, pavers, roofers, anything. Do 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 do. But I appreciate the question, Caleb. If you got any more, like I said, I love those kind of things, because you know, I'm getting old, and I like to do this also for future generation, my kids, everybody, right? I just like to give my honest opinion on, I've been very, very blessed. I've had great success. I've also had a lot of failures, but the big thing is, get up, keep swinging, and just remember, don't repeat the same thing. That's insanity. So you learn from it and go, well, that didn't work. All right, we got to do this next time. Let's do this. Oh, that worked a little better, but still not 100%. Let's do this next time. I tell people all the time, treat your body like a car. Ever since I've heard you say that, great advice. Awesome. I'm glad you like it. Like I said, it was just one of those things I came across it and I thought, man, I like that. I like that. If you could only get one car, right? Because typically, I don't know if it's so much, I'm not a woman, but for the men, right? I mean, that's what we like when we're growing up, right? Oh, I can't wait till I get that 69 Camaro, like it's going to be so sweet, and then it's like, okay, but you can only pick one. And it doesn't matter. Don't, just you get to pick one. That's it. And it's like, oh, well, heck, I only got to pick one too, which is my body. I only get these eyes, nose, fingers. And, it probably resonated a little bit more to me when I tried to chop my knee off, with the skill saw. And it was really stupid. And what really ticked me off was the fact that it was really thick cardboard. Don't make fun of me. It was cardboard. Right? I was ripping it up because I told myself we had snow. And I said, if I put it out by the dumpster was over full. And I said, if I put it out by the dumpster, I think I was plowing the shop at the time. I said, I know I'm going to hit it with the plow truck. And I'm going to push it in the snowbank. It's going to look like crap. Then it's going to be in the neighbor's yard because it's going to blow maybe. The stuff was so heavy, probably won. But I just thought, I'll just chop it up. And I was like, I'll just burn it. Because I got the fireplace. And I thought, it'll be good for starting fires and stuff. Chop the leg. All this stuff happens. You got the hospital bill, the inconvenience, the limping, the crutches. It's kind of like that whole thing. Like everybody understands this part. My mom always told me, right? My mom told me, says, Dave, she says, if you don't have your health, you got nothing. And who hasn't been wrapped around a toilet of just a natural sickness or the brown bottle flu? You know what I mean? And when you're wrapped around that toilet, looking at the floor, looking at the toilet and realizing, it needs a little more scrubbing here and there. It's a little dirt. You realize, I'd do anything right now to feel normal. I'd do anything if I could just get up and I could sleep and I don't have cold sweats or whatever, or the room is moving on me, or I'm wrapped around this puppy because I keep vomiting. Everybody's been there. You know what I mean? And so your health is everything. So, like I said, what really got me on it, though, is I found out that the township actually would give me a size, right? A double the size dumpster for actually a cheaper price than what I was paying. I think I was paying Republic at the time for garbage service. And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I was like, I get a bigger trash can dumpster. And I was like, and I pay less. And I was like, this is what it cost me from cutting that stupid cardboard with a skill saw, which was really dumb. Don't do it anyways. Plus I had the guard up. It was my fault. But I was tired. I was exhausted. It was a really crummy day. And I kept telling myself every time I sliced through, I was like, we should go to lunch. I had Cap here. Actually, right here. It was right here. And I come busting through this door right here. And I was like, I ain't going to say the correct words, but I said, you need to get off the effing phone. And he's like, are you serious? He looks at me. Are you serious? I said, yeah. I pointed to my knee. He's like, even the guy on the phone's like, are you serious? He's like, I got to go. Hang up, and we scurried out the door and went to the hospital, and that was fun. Not really. So that's why, when you're young, I don't think you see it, right? You think you're invincible. Was it my nephew? He just recently got something. He was telling me he got something in his eye. And I don't know if he had glasses on or whatever. I think he did of some sort, but they weren't maybe enough around. And I'm like, dude, and he's like, I know. He goes, I could have lost my eye. And it's like, yeah, it's like you gotta, man, pay attention to that stuff. You know, I catch myself all the time using a grinder. You know what? Where's those safety glasses? Because I've had the disc blow apart, right? Who hasn't, right? You're doing something, boom, man, it blows, hits your gloves or something, goes flying. You hear it, and you're like, oh, glad they didn't get me in the eye. The spring turner looks aggressive, probably compared to the, the brute or the the spring turner or the brute winder. Maybe just so some people don't know, because I didn't know. Surewinder is kind of like the residential style. The brute winder is the same manufacturer. It's commercial. Now it does sound like, even with spring turner, because they asked me, he says, "Do you want the commercial?" And I said, "Yeah," because I thought, if you're going to go with it, I thought the commercial's harder on the body, and so I wanted to try. I was like, "Yeah, let's go with the commercial." So it sounds like they do have a smaller version, but with the Surewinder, I ain't gonna lie. I mean, just from the videos I've seen and what Tony has sent me and stuff like that, it looks pretty. It looks pretty. I'll say something else, but keep it clean. It looks pretty. And it looks more refined. So I don't know. Like I said, we're going to get them together. I want to weigh them. I think he already gave me a weight. I haven't weighed this one yet, because it might still be a little bit till I get down there, because I was hoping to possibly pair up with Josh. I think he's got the maximum, maxi, whatever it's called. Maxi pads, what I think of. But for the openers, LiftMaster, and I was hoping to kind of go down there and do some filming. Get my hands on him, check him out, go see him. He's a cool dude. Haven't heard mine. Looks aggressive. Yeah, like I said, I still think about that a little bit. What is it? Is it Hockey? Is it Hockey K Bros 2? It says hi. Hello. I hope everybody's doing good. Don't be afraid. Like I said, you jump on here. I really appreciate the thumbs up. Like I said, just helps kind of bring some people in, questions, people that are starting business, garage door business, blah, blah, blah. So please, like I said, if you're cruising through, whatever, if you at least just hit thumbs up, it doesn't cost you nothing. It just helps out the algos for YouTube. It says, yes, I had to go back to, excuse me. Okay, so Justin's saying he did. Okay, so he had to go back to the whiny bars. Well, that's no good. Maybe, you know what I'm kind of hoping? I'm kind of hoping that we can kind of get the channel to kind of grow. And what I thought about doing, I don't know how to do it. If anybody's got advice or they've done this or any input on it, help a brother out. But what I thought is, I don't know how, because I can't just quite give, $1,000 or $1,200 or $1,500 worth of just product out with being such a small YouTuber. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to be able to give some out at some point. You know what I mean? But what I thought about doing is I was thinking, because I still, to this day, I still have not gotten a super chat. I don't know how it works, and I'm curious. I think they take a percentage. I don't know how, and I still have not gotten a super chat. So what I thought about doing was like kind of doing something as like, if you do a super chat, let's say for the spring turner, maybe I have no idea what the dollar amount would be, like for like $10 or something, or 20 or whatever that seems feasible. Because I know there's not going to be like, being a small YouTuber, it's not like there's going to be like just 50 some people that's going to be like, I'll put it in. And what I kind of wanted to do though is I wanted to do like, oh, if you do a super chat, I also like give you like, I'll throw just a hat or something, something small. I don't know, maybe spring clamps or something, or a spring gauge. Like I said, if you got ideas, let me know. Something that's just, it's a couple bucks, $5 or something, $2-3, because you gotta imagine I gotta have shipping on this thing, and of course how this is gonna go. It'd almost be better if it's like on Amazon, because then I can send it, because unfortunately I trust Amazon better than I do like the post office or UPS, because I sent Tony those suspenders that he won. And by the way, I still do got a giveaway I got to do for that grease thing. I haven't forgot. I just clipped out the names the other day on it. So that's coming up. So that's why you should stay tuned. But anyways, they didn't show up, right? They just didn't show up. They showed location, on the tracking, and then it's just like bloop, they sat there, and I'm like, what the heck, you know what I mean? And it's like, well, is it really worth my time, for whatever they cost? I was like, no. I was like, so I just asked the wife of Tron. I said, could you please just find them on Amazon and just send them out? I was like, it's just a lot easier than going down and packaging. The problem was when the lady put in the bag. As soon as I seen it, I was like, oh, I already knew. I was like, it needs to be in a box. It needs to be bigger so it doesn't get lost. Because like bags, I don't know what happened with bags, but they like get slipped in people's shirts or something. I don't know what happened. If you got any experience on it, let me know. Oh, Caleb says, I work in the boating industry. Awesome. He says, I'm a service tech, and there is high demand for mobile service. I'm glad, Caleb, I am glad you brought that up. I would agree. I kind of feel like, so in where the shop's located here, I noticed somebody in town starting to do like a mobile, like a tire service. And, I'm not going to say like they're going out and they're just making millions, but I've noticed they've been slowly, steady, kind of looks like they're growing. And I just saw, and I actually drove past one of the job sites where he was working. He had some older Cadillac jacked up. And I was like, hey, there's that guy. Finally get to see him at a job, And, I don't know. I don't see why not. I can't see the negatives in it to some degree. The first negative I can see, though, right off the top of my head right here, is that in my brain, if you try to expand it, it wouldn't be a good business. If you try to stay chuck in a truck, like yourself and maybe a helper, or maybe one other guy or something like that, maybe you can make some money. You know what I mean? But you start trying to have 2 or 3 or 4 or 6 employees on that, I think you would have a nightmare, because this is just my opinion. I've noticed when it comes to business, right? See here, like if we did everything here, if we built garage doors, we assembled, right? Everything is under, it's on one piece of property. It's in one building. You know what I mean? You can have cameras. They got bathrooms. They got, maybe there's lockers here. Maybe there's a lunch area. Everything's here. And you send stuff out, right? With the customers. And then, there's going to be problems, right? Because customers are going to screw up things. Stuff's going to fall off their vehicles, whatever. I'm talking kind of garage doors here. And they're going to call you, right? But the thing is you don't have to take the time. See, that's the biggest thing people forget in this, is the time. And like when we get a service call in the garage door industry, right? It could be our fault. We make mistakes. It could be the customer that's not telling you the full situation because they stuck a broom in the track by accident and it threw the door off, and now they're just kind of like, you just installed this brand new door last week and now it's off track. And you're like, what the, Tony's sending me. He's chiming in, man. It looks like I can see a little picture. He's got the door half stacked. Good luck, Tony, if you're watching or listening. He's working on a door that's all flipping. He says the rest can't wait till morning. He's crushing it. So it's easier to control because, like I said, when it goes out, right, it's the customer's time, it's the customer's gas, it's the customer. Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Jones, that you're having a problem with that. Surely, exactly. Well, you know what? Go ahead and bring it back at your convenience, and we'll take a look at it for you, right? But you see how, like in the service industry, right? Now everything just got all screwed up. Right? Oh my gosh. I don't know if I guess I'm going to have to go do it because everybody else is all busy, or when the guy gets back or whatever. There's just a lot more variables to it. It's not as easy as what you think, because now you got to go out there. They got to diagnose it. Maybe they don't have the parts. Where when it's controlled in an environment, on a piece of property, in a building, it's a lot easier to manage. I hope that kind of makes sense. So it's just something to think about. But if you're the man, right? And that's kind of what it was for me, right? We had this transition where, like, when I was doing it, I was like unstoppable. There's nothing. I mean, don't get me wrong. There was stuff that I had hiccups in, but it was one of those things like I would figure it out. If I didn't know it, man, it's like I was on YouTube, I was on Google. I mean, I was just like, oh, I'll find this son of a biscuit. And I would figure it out, right? And I shouldn't say I didn't, because I did, but I tried to do is not get myself in those certain circumstances where I was over my head, where I said, this is not cool, this is not me. But there's just a lot of variables. But I think the mobile service, like I said, I don't know if people are, it's kind of like getting lazy. If it's like, I could see a demand for it. I really could. So I think in the service, if you're going to do service, I think you're golden. It's just if you try to start scaling out, not to say you can't, it's just going to take a lot longer, and there's a lot of headaches, and you have to go through a lot of people to find good people. That'd be my only concern, you know. Rob's on it, man. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it. Canadian doorman. That's how I started. The side work became too much for nights and weekends. Perfect. And so I made the jump. Best decision I ever made. There you go. I agree. See, I think that's a really good way to do it. That's why I'm being still really cautious. I might have to check the phone in a second because I don't think it's charging, which is really weird. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. So, but that's why I'm being really cautious with people right now, where I'm like, look, I'm really surprised this has taken so long for the economy to kind of do what it's doing. But I'm watching another video yet tonight, you know, and it's talking about, you know, the conflict with Russia and NATO and Ukraine. And I'm trying to already kind of prepare myself, going, hey, what is that going to entail with the psychological of the customer, right? So what do we have to prepare for? Because like I said, you got to remember, I started in 2006. And like I said, 2006 was flipping amazing. You walk in with a shirt, just a shirt, and something on the back that says something. People just ran up to you, like in Home Depot or Lowe's. I mean, just ran up to you. Do you do garage doors? Do you do garage doors? I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, like, what would this cost? Or like, what would this, like, how soon could you, I already got it? Like, how could you? And I'm like, oh, we could probably do it in like 3 days. 3 days? Oh my gosh. My garage door guy's like, he's out like 3, 4, 6 weeks. Like, can you come look at it? Yeah. You know, I mean, it was just so flooded. It was kind of like when you guys are probably watching the car market in the cough, the co and the vid, you know, in the 19, you know, like when you were watching that, and cars were just exploding in price, lumber was exploding in price, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't even, you go to the store to buy lumber, it's tripled, quadrupled, whatever in price, and you're like, that's kind of what it was like, that whole hyped up. Where right now I go, oh man, I don't want you to turn into 06, because when 07 and 08 came, oh man, did things change big time. The residential just, I mean, in this, our geographical area just absolutely died. I mean, it took, in my heart, I feel like it was 5 to 6 years till customers started coming back, where things were kind of like a beacon, like boop, boop, you know, like life. Like, you know, something died and then the light comes on, you know, like in a movie, and then it kind of comes on a little more, and then it finally sprawls, you know, whatever it is. It was bad. Commercial held on a little longer, but within about 3 years, they started, you know, changing too. So people that are getting into it, I'm like, look, you know, you could be like, well, I'm so busy right now. Yeah, I know, but we're in an election year. We got a lot of stuff. We don't know who, you know, it might be a big burst. It might be we're in 3, 6, 9 different wars. I don't know. And so I'd wait till, gosh, I don't know. I'd like to see probably towards the end of next year. You know, that's where I'd feel more comfortable. And like I said, I think the Canadian doorman said it perfect. You know what I mean? That's what he did. He started doing it, and then it's got to the point. But you also want to make sure you got a cushion of money. You know what I mean? That you can deal with those days that you know you don't got work, because it's really hard as a contractor, because when you do it and you get the taste and you go, oh man, I just made $200 and it whatever. Yeah, well, just wait for those days that 2 or 3 days go by and you can't get nobody to bite. You know what I mean? You can't get that estimate to hit. You can't, you know, and then it's a battle, man. It's a battle. see where we're at here. I'm gonna check this phone in a second. I'm not ignoring you. I just don't want to lose you because I see I'm not in the red yet. But why is this thing not charging? It's like got some stupid thingamajigger on it that doesn't want to work. Ugh. I just don't understand things sometimes. It's because it's not an outlet. It's actually I think it's a surge protector, but it's like that division of it's not on. Now we got some power. All right, so we got. Justin's got, I use Angel Brake. What's Angel Brake? I don't know what that is. Canadian says, I wish I bought one sooner. I think we all feel that way. Says, I use a hacksaw. Eric Freeze. What's up, mister? Haven't seen you in a while. Hope you're doing good. I don't think you have super chats enabled. Oh, well, there you go. Maybe I have to look into that. I appreciate it, Eric. Thank you for letting me know that. I didn't know that was a scenario. Because like I said, I'm always like, I just want like $1.99. I don't know what the lowest you can do. But I'm like, how do you do super chats? I'm learning. So there you go. Maybe it's on my end. So I really appreciate that. Canadian Doorman, he says, how do you guys charge for garage door installation, right? When the customer supplies their own door, square footage. Ooh, right in the gut. So we kind of had like a little bit of a formula. We kind of used to go off lows and go a little higher at one point. This was years ago. It kind of depends, typically, obviously the labor is going to be a little higher because you're dealing with a product that you're not familiar with. I don't really have a certain formula because that's not really my department anymore. But I mean, if I was to say to kind of do it, I guess I would look at it as like, see, it's really hard for me to always just say square footage because maybe on the residential is fine, but it's kind of like, gosh, I wish I had that chart. We used to have a chart that was broke down that we got from Wayne Dalton at one time that they would actually tell you like what they would charge. And so you got to kind of make like a list. I'm just looking at something that was sitting here. I don't know if this has anything in it. But like low headroom, you almost kind of need to go through it on yourself. Whatever you feel like. So you say, okay, there's a certain square footage. And, for me, I really never cared so much about insulated, non-insulated. I mean, especially if they're providing it. To me, it's kind of a door is a door. I mean, it might be a little heavier. It might take you just a smidge longer. And you can factor that in there. My thing always was, my concern was low headroom. So just figure out whatever you need, break it down and say, okay, hey, like maybe a 16 by 7 you want to make, we used to charge, it was like $218. I know it's gone up. So maybe it's like $300-400. And divide that up, on the square footage. And then you kind of go, okay, that's kind of my base, or, a certain size. Like I think some of them used to do, the way they'd price it is like, the price was good until it got to 10 foot wide and 8 foot tall. And then anything above that, the price would be, more, so like, or you just have like a set price. Sometimes, I get a lot of flack about it. Is that a piece of fuzz or is it just losing my mind? I was trying to see if this had any information in it, like kind of that breakdown for you. Because there's all little tidbits out there on stuff. But the big thing is, like I said, just find out what you need, what you want to make, and then the big thing is, your biggest thing is you gotta find out, you gotta figure out your radius. That's what crushed me a lot. I'd probably be in a penthouse, I'd probably have, 20 pool girls right now. If I wouldn't have the traveling is what killed me, because I was traveling too far. And if you don't answer the right questions, right, when that phone call comes in and I had, like I said, we were just talking about this the other day. I had the one that was up too far. I charged the standard price. I didn't want to retract on my price. The guy said it was okay. It was good. And after I found out where he was, and I realized how big that city or that town was, a guy got stuck with a truck, with a van, My truck broke down on the way up there to save them. We had to call a tow truck in there. I mean, just lost our shirt because we traveled too far. So you have to remember when you're closer to home, you think about all the resources you have. You got mommy, you got daddy, you got uncles, you got maybe the wife, you got the girlfriend, you got the tow truck buddy that you got. I mean, you just have all these resources. Every time you start spreading out, you get a flat tire. You get, you smash up the vehicle. Who's going to come get you? Are you serious? It's going to take me that long to come get you? Or now you're in the hospital, because you had a car accident. Just all these things you got to think about. Problems with the material. Says my biggest scare was it? Did I miss this? What did I miss here? That's how I started. It says my biggest scare is going out and getting no calls, not providing for my children. That is the big fear. A lot of people don't understand. You know what I mean? In business, it's business is not easy. And it's hard because people look at they look at the checks and stuff they get. And that's another thing, employees and that don't typically get it. You know what I mean? Like they see that stuff and they go, man, it must be nice, make $600 or whatever in a couple hours. It only took me 2 hours, or whatever, or whatever. And it's like, you're forgetting though, that those days that maybe you only had one service call and you still got a paycheck for the whole day, or you were cleaning the vehicle that day, or, and you're not thinking about all the overhead, the phone, the advertisements, the software, the computers, the trucks, the maintenance, clothing, hats, whatever. It adds up, man. It's like, it's a huge burden. And then, I mean, it was not when the cough syndrome was going around. I mean, we had 2 weeks. It was like the phone was not ringing. And we had a couple commercial jobs that we could still finish up that they let us into. But I remember, I was jumping in the scrap hopper, just pulling metal out to take it like in a truck and trailer, basically to the scrap, so we could at least get $200 for the day, just to make sure we're put in. Because I was ready to go down with the ship because Uncle Sam wasn't doing his job, which was supposed to be, we're paying this, right? We have to pay all this. We have to pay all this unemployment, and then when the employees needed it, it wasn't there for them. So the way I looked at it is they still have bills, they still have car payments, they still have house payments. Got to keep it going until the ship goes down. We got to keep trying our hardest. That's hard, man. It's hard. It changes with employees, man. I'm telling you. Hi, Dave. What are you doing up so late? Eric says, what am I doing? Eric, I was kind of. I literally actually took a shower, and in the shower I just said, you know what? I said, I'm coming out, man. I said, I'm coming out. I said, because I was just pumped up. I was thinking about some of the comments, and I honestly just like helping you guys. And I learn a lot from you guys too, the feedback. And I just was like, you know what? I'm going. And I said, you know what? I said, I didn't expect to even be like 31 of you, which I really appreciate. So, and don't forget, if you guys can, please hit the like button. Let's get it up to at least 10, please. It just helps the algo. It brings more people in, more conversation. I love these things. I love when you guys ask me questions. It gets the old brain going. I get pumped up. I ain't gonna lie, because I just think of all these situations I've been in that I love sharing with you guys in business and garage doors and just personal. And it's a roller coaster, man. And it's great because I know I'm surrounded by like-minded people, and I love it. You know what I mean? Because we're just out there trying to make a living. You know what I mean? And there's there's really great people out there. Says, how do you cut, Mr. Canadian Doorman says, he says, how do you cut your punched angle? I always use a grinder, but recently bought an angle breaker. Game changer. Best 400 ever spent. So that's pretty sweet. I'm glad you bought. See, we bought one. We bought it through Service Spring. It started malfunctioning, I mean, really fast. Like within, I don't even think we made a full week of using it. It was supposed to do resi and it was supposed to do commercial. And it started like chunking it and not cutting. It would like bend it, but it wouldn't chop it. The best ones I've ever seen are the nippers. Like they're old school. A guy pulled it out of his truck one time and it nipped each side. And I mean, I was like, you want to sell that? And he's like, no. He's like, they're pretty hard to come by, little bug. And if you can, Canadian Doorman, let me know where you got yours, and maybe how long have you been using it. You're happy with it, because I would love to purchase one. We either like what's been kind of so either we use Sawzall. I don't use grinders. The guys might, some guys might. And then the bandsaw. I love the bandsaw. A lot smoother, right? When you use the Sawzall, I mean your hands like numb from you sitting there just rattling that thing. The bandsaw works. It's heavy though. It's bulky. Grinder, no. I don't use. I don't like grinding discs because they can explode if you hit them wrong, twist it, whatever. Do I use them? Oh yeah, I do. But that's like my least. I don't like the smell. I don't like the dust. So I'm either using Sawzall or I'm using a band. Am I saying that right? A bandsaw, a portable one. Battery operated one. Justin says I use an angle brake. If you guys, like I said too, if you guys come across anything, shoot me an email. If something that and it's a reasonable price. I know they get expensive. I mean, $400 is kind of a lot for some people that are just starting out. But and the thing is, like, I have no problem spending $400 or $600 or $800 or $1,200, but I want it to be quality. I want it to be like something that just works. And when that guy pulls his out and it's from like 1940, and he's like, you just buy these little blocks. That's what you change, or you can sharpen them. And the fact that he's nipping each side, and that's how he does it. And I thought, well, that makes more sense, because we were taking such a big bite, it felt like. And to be honest, Service Spring really did step up. Like I said, I don't get paid from there or anything. Service Spring, come on, give me a hat or something at least. But they really stepped up. I called them right away and I told them, I said, look, this thing is really not performing. And the guy on the phone even just kind of said, he said, we've had some issues. We tried a different vendor now. He says, I'm not going to deny it. I'm not going to say I concur, but he said, I'm not going to say I deny it. And he says, we'll just send it back or whatever, we'll refund your money. And they did. They did what they said they were going to do, and I appreciate it. I was just like, I'm not buying another one because I know what it's going to do. Hopefully I didn't miss. If I missed your guys' comments or whatever, just put it back down below. I'll try to stay on them. I use a hacksaw. Dude, man, you got some pipes. Must have some big arms. I don't think you have super. Oh, see, I missed this. See, this thing jumped around. What spring do I need for a 7x7 pan? Oh, good question. You gotta. Hopefully, you got somebody like Service Spring. You gotta weigh it. You gotta know the track. If it's 15 or 12 inch radius, you gotta have the drums. Blah blah blah. They're the people they can get the app. They'd be way better because, I have no clue. Eric says lumber is still. What's up, Big Dad Dave? I think it's Babe, but it says Dave, I think. What's up, Tony? I hope you're doing good, man. Hopefully you wrap that door up. I seen the pictures. I was just mentioning the people here. Home Away. That's an interesting one. I like that. Are you able to purchase doors cheaper at a vendor? And how do I find one? That's a good question. So there's kind of a. I think this is a really good question. There's kind of a skewed on this, right? How do I say this? So for the most part, right? I mean, you know how it is, right? Walmart, right? If you go to Walmart, they got the biggest purchasing power, right? They get the best deals because they can buy in such bulk, right? So in a nutshell, if you buy from the box stores, right? Let's say it's Menards, Lowe's, Home Depot, the prices are probably about the rock bottom in a sense, right? But if you go through them, like if you order it for the customer or tell the customer or just let the customer order and then come behind them or however you do it, right? And change a few things. Make sure it's got the decent rollers that you like. Make sure it's got the upgraded hinges you like. Make sure it's got 2 springs instead of maybe 1 spring. And make sure that obviously a torsion, not extension springs. There's some things you can do that the door is fine. You know what I mean? It's their systems are all reverted for price, right? So they revert to the cheapest thing. Now, some of the pros with a vendor, right? A vendor, like for us for here, right? The stuff comes to us. That alone is like saves us 1 to 2 employees in a sense, right? Because everything comes to us. I used to go out all the time and pick up the stuff. 3 openers here at our vendor that the one vendor that did everything, right? Did springs, did doors, track. I mean, anything you need a garage door, they basically had. They could put everything together. They're a great vendor, very mom and pop kind of vendor. And but you got to imagine, like I said, it's 45 minutes to an hour. And then what started clicking in my head is what you don't realize is when you go there, right? You want to be polite and nice, and you got conversation, so you start talking and that. Well, next thing you know, you're there, 20, 30, 45 minutes. Maybe somebody's in front of you. Maybe they're loading up their truck. Maybe you see your competition. You see a friend that's your competition. You guys are yakking it up, and then you start realizing, like, holy crap. I got 3 hours invested in just going out and getting this door. So that's where things start aligning, right? That you go, okay, I need to, as you get busier. See, when you first start out, you have nothing in a sense, right? That's how it's like you're just waiting for that one install, that one opener, that one door. You're just, use the box doors. You know what I mean? Then you don't have to so much upgrade eventually to a secretary. You don't have to, down the road, maybe, you got so busy or whatever. The box store can be your friend because typically the people there don't care. So you bring stuff in, you're like, this opener's junk. And they're like, okay, the person, how it is at the front desk. They don't care. They're like, okay, they open it up. And you want to get another one? You're like, no, I want to return my money. I want to go somewhere else or whatever. So it's really, to me, it's about a time factor. It's not so much. And then you just have to be due diligent and keep hustling, and you'll find somebody, because these people fall off, the old go away, sometimes new come in, and sometimes you get these new salespeople and they're like, I'm going to conquer the world, right? And they'll take on anybody. So you call them up, they started 2 months ago, and you're like, hey, I'm looking. They're like, really? Great. Well, I want to make more commission. So let's meet up and see if we can. I see Tony send me the crimper. I can't click on it. I'll check it out though. I appreciate it, Tony. And but it's just one of those things that you just got to find a balance, and you just got to keep persistent. Like Amar is a really easy one. If you got Amar around, they typically they're kind of like the hookus. They take anybody. So it'd be nice to find somebody local. I just wouldn't be too afraid. Don't get me wrong. It's nice. You got to save money, but pay attention to your time. That was one of my biggest hiccups. Was I didn't pay attention. It was just, I'm going to install this really nice opener, and people are going to love me, and it's going to be great. And I really never got where people were like constantly going, you know why I used you? I'm like, no, because the other guy was trying to sell me a box store, and I wanted the Primo LiftMaster because I watched the commercial, and the guy on there looked so freaking happy. I want to be that guy. So that's why it was always just like, push the button and make it work, or just, where's the remote? What do these do? What are these? What are these? It's so I'm trying to say is you can probably get some, and nowadays it seems like people just always want cheap. And like I said, it's a caveat. You got to watch it because you want to find a product that gives you the least amount of callbacks. So I hope that kind of helps. Otherwise, ask some more questions. It's good. It's all good. Good stuff. Now, I did want to touch one more thing on the HomeAway on that. Do realize that when you get in with a vendor, I had this problem. Just realize that they might not be giving you the top-notch pricing because you're new. There are people that have been there for 10, 20, 50 years, whatever. They get the better pricing tier. There's pricing tiers, and I didn't know that. So I was at the highest one. They sometimes, like, the one company did A, B, and C. I was like at C. You want to be at A. But they typically only do that if you have so much in sales. So you got to kind of figure out, sometimes who you're going to use, and then you got to commit to them in a sense. And their product might be good in one area and kind of not the best in the area, and you might want to kind of, you know what I'm saying? You might want to kind of lean over to another company. The problem is now you're kind of splitting up your money in a sense with them to give you a better price, but they want you to stay committed. See how there's all these But otherwise, you could just go to the box store and you got to deal with some parts and pieces and make it a little bit better and add a couple struts. And you're going to get probably the cheapest price there is. And there is caveats to them. But like I said, you get it, something's wrong with it. Boy, I'm really sorry. They really screwed this up. See, there's something relieving about the box store. You know what I mean? Well, you know, they obviously damaged it, and they do. There's stuff. I'm not saying they can damage more stuff, but what I'm saying is you got that resource that now you go in there and go, hey, we got a problem. Like, I installed this door for this lady, you know, Mrs. Jones. Yeah, right there. That work order right here. This work order. She's not happy. Okay, well, we'll just get another section. Did you take pictures? Yep. And then you walk away and you go on with your day, right? But when it's your product, now you got to call the vendor. Now they got to have proof for that. They may not trust you. Are you good? Are you bad? Are you lying? Are you cheating? Are you stealing? You know, then you got to wait for the truck to show up, right? Well, that eats up time, right? Well, the truck's going to be there. Well, the truck's running late, blah, 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 versus you get a phone call. It's at your local box store. And you're like, oh, it's in? It's in. Okay. And then you go there, maybe check it out. It looks good. You pick it up, you take it, you go install it. Everything's good. You wash your hands of it. So that's why I'm always kind of like, for the guys starting out, I'm like, you might want to consider the box stores. Because at one point, the prices were getting ridiculous. And I was thinking, it's still cheaper. I did the math one time. It was still cheaper for me to go to Menards, get a garage door. It's called Ideal, but it's made by Clopay. So pan doors, everything, right? But it's just their hardware stinks, right? The rollers are kind of crappy. Their hinges were kind of crappy. They did a lighter gauge. But if I could upgrade those, I'd have to be more tedious about it. But what I'm trying to explain is you get support from them, where instead of on the other end for you, now you might have to hire a secretary, or you turn into the secretary and you're trying to manage all this. Now you gotta wait for the truck. You gotta wait for them to call you back, confirmation, this work order, this, versus you walk in and go, hey, there's a problem. They're not happy. And they always are trying to aim for like customer satisfaction. You know what I mean? So they just kind of like, they'll do stuff, throw money, and it's local. You're not driving super far. Do 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 do. Tony says $100. $100 for what? Better not be for that lopper that you sent me. I know you're not charging $100 for that door that you just fixed. He says, now they just don't get it. He says, it's Friday night and I'm driving home from a job. Were they probably at the bar? Tony's got it right. That's it, man. You gotta, you know, honestly, for people starting out, you do have to realize that I even told myself this at one time. I said that after hours and the weekends, like I pretty much, and I might do it in the future, but I was like, you know what? I'm like, I just want to do the after hours and the weekends because, you know, this is just weird kind of on a personal note in a sense, but I like the weekdays actually free because weekdays for me is actually when I have to do paperwork, I have to deal with bankers, I have to deal with closings. I like those hours. I like those to be more free in a sense. I'd rather do the weekend because to me it's like that's when nobody wants to work and that's when there's the best money, honestly. You can actually charge more. And people praise you and people are just like, oh my gosh, somebody answered the phone and thank you so much. And you're like, well, yeah, here's the bid. And they're like, okay, it's not a problem. And they already called 6 people and nobody answers their phone. So just something to think about. Says the Dano sells a good puncher or angle cutter. What's the Canadian guy here? A Canadian doorman. He says, that's where I bought mine. I've had my angle breaker for about a year now, and it still slices through like butter. Nice. Might have to look into that. Does anybody know what the price is on the angle cutter? What they're running? 2, 3. I swear it looked like when Tony said I seen something that was like $2.99. I don't know if that was it. I could be off. I think Tony sent it through the same one. Peter's here. Can you post this live so that I can watch later? Yeah, it'll be up. As long as YouTube doesn't get goofy and try to do their... Sometimes they get upset with me. But you should be good. Hopefully, Peter, you got my email. I sent you that. I made that video for the multi-code on Peter's behalf. So thank you, Peter. If it's the same one, I apologize. But like I said, it's for you on the multi-code. I hope it helps you out. The multi-codes have been just a blessing in the business. We steered away from them at one time. Used the built-in radios. These are for gate operators. For some of you guys, they're like, "What is this guy talking about?" The multi-code, because it's just saves so much energy. You have to watch the video. Says Dano, am I saying that right? I forget. Has the Pro Cutting handheld chain breaker for 75. Guess I'm gonna have to check them out. Hopefully I can, obviously, I'm assuming nowadays I can go on the website, because is it Resource? Is it Resource the one that still sends me a magazine once in a blue moon? I don't think they like me. I haven't seen nothing from Deno cutter. Okay, cutter for $235 this month. Nice. That's not a bad price at all. And the thing is, a lot of guys, if you're starting out or whatever, what you got to realize with the cutter is, for one, it makes you faster. For two, as far as I'm concerned, it's safer, right? Because you're not dealing with metal debris and something that gets in your eyes. I mean, yes, you still should wear glasses because the stuff's chopping, doing weird things. And you got to think about the blades it's saving you, because Sawzall blades, maybe it's just in my area, but Sawzall blades are like ridiculous. Like every time I go buy a pack, I'm like, 30. This one over here is the pack I really want. And it's like $60, $120. I'm like, for what? And I'm like, I'm going to buy the cheapest ones I can. Like, this is ridiculous. They're expensive. Tony says the bearing blaster for $119, great price. Yeah, those things are great. I really love those things. You just if you're just starting out, Tony's got actually a good point, because I was one of them, and I don't think we even had this as an option. But I was smacking a bearing plate with a bearing in it. I don't think I got a picture I could show you. And I tell you what, man. I screwed up a lot of bearings doing that. Let's see if there's a picture here, just in case somebody's watching, because I know I watch some videos sometimes and I'm like, I don't know what this guy's talking about. I'm like, he's freaking nuts. It's in here somewhere. Oh, come on, Service Spring. Where are you in your book? And I know they sell it too, but I just wanted to show an end bearing plate like I was always wailing on when I was a young man. But anyways, I might not be able to find it. But like I said, I was pounding on those things with a hammer, and I was always like, oh, I can do it if I do it real gentle, or I use a chunk of wood and the chunk of wood splits on you. It's a nightmare. And that bearing blaster, man, I tell you what, it's like I'll never go back without. I think Service Spring did a really smart thing here. It's funny we're talking about Sawzall blades. I think it's really good idea. They still show some prices, but the fact that you can scan this with those QR codes, I think is revolutionary, because what I think is nice is obviously their prices change, because a lot of stuff can be very volatile in price. And I think what they should do, and maybe they'll eventually do it, maybe they'll listen to my calling, is I think it would be a great thing for their business that if our service techs could carry this, and it would put together an order. Oh, I got an angle cutter right here. It's amazing. I just pulled on it. Two something. It says it's $243, plus you got shipping, I'm guaranteeing. Anyways, it would be great if they had the QR codes. This one doesn't show up. But what they could do is if we could order stuff. So could you imagine, like, your techs or yourself, you're at a job, maybe you use whatever, you use burned up, a packet of Sawzall blades, and you would scan that. That thing would be linked to your account, right? And it would start putting an order together. And basically it'd have to be approved by whoever. And then what they could do is you could approve it at the end of the week, right? And it automatically, so it'd be good for Service Spring because they're going to get business, but it would automatically, that way they get, the order starts coming, right? To replenish that stuff. Because there's all kinds of bearings and stuff that we use that we have a little bit of a stock, but you can start dwindling down pretty fast. I've had it happen. And unless you got somebody out there constantly counting them and all that, it gets to be a real pain in the hiney. So, Oh, we got up to 10 too for likes. I appreciate it. Like I said, we can shoot for 11. I think we can squeeze 11 in there. What's he got here? Canada is where I bought my angle cutter. Nice. So I'm doing since I'm doing a door install, I'm probably going to Source Midland. I've seen one and it was very good quality. Yeah, Midland garage doors was what our vendor used. The one that was their mom and pop shop. And I tell you what, I really like Midland. Like if I could be a vendor of theirs, I probably wouldn't hesitate if the prices were okay, even if they're higher, because their quality seemed like it was just spot on. The fact, like I said, you know, and it's just weird, right? I'm like a little school kid, right? I'm like the guy, you know, the kid that gets the lunch bag, right? For your school lunch when you were a kid, right? You know, mom writes a name on there or something, packs a little something in there for you, a little treat, right? And when I opened up that box and I see there's a list on there of all the parts that should be in there, and it's checked, check, 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 and they got somebody's actually like physical initials in there. I can't tell you how good that makes me feel. That I'm like, oh my gosh, a human that probably has their own workstation put this together, and guess what? If I have problems, I could call them and they're going to start reaching down the line and go, you know what? KZ or whatever initials has already had 2 calls, you know, last week, and now it's up to 3 the other week prior to that. We need to look into something. Like they're screwing things up. Something's going on. Maybe we gotta fire them, whatever. I never had a problem with their stuff. Like I remember one time I think I lost a hinge, and I'm like, there's just no way. I was like, there's no way. It's got to be here. I'm the idiot that lost it. I mean, I'm digging and digging and digging, and sure enough, it just fell out of the box. I kicked it or something, whatever, and I found it. And I was just like, I knew it. I believed in them. Isn't that such a good feeling to believe in your vendor? I mean, I can't tell you if any vendors ever watch my videos. I can't tell you the hardest thing for us as garage door installers, and I'm sure this is across the board, mechanics, everything, right, is quality. Quality control. You know what I mean? To make sure everything is there. To make sure just so you feel like they took some pride in it versus you're just another number and we pushed it out and there you go, good luck. You know what I mean? And, oh, by the way, you should have had those hinges on your truck. Any garage door tech or somebody would have those. And it's like, that's not the point. You don't know what I did the day before. You know, I burned up all my hinges. I was banking on, I'm running behind. You know, maybe I had to put my dog down the other day. Not personally, I'm just saying. You know what I mean? Like you're going through bad things and you're like, you were in a factory controlled, climate controlled environment. And you could have made my day a lot better if you would have just made sure everything was in there the way it was supposed to be. What's Mr. Tony say here? This is when I sold CP, is it CPA? You got what we called, the multiplier. That's right, the multiplier. That's another thing they used to do a lot with the books, with the multiplier. Like they'd have it so like if you were like showing your customer, the price is already marked up, and then you get a multiplier to like deduct it to what it was your cost. Kind of real pain in the hiney, I thought. Clopay. What's up? What's up, Mr. 2? How's business? Another 15-hour day here. Oh wow. Wow, man. That's crazy. No, it's been going good. They've been staying pretty steady. I don't think it's like gangbusters, but like I said, we got our roots in pretty deep, so that's really nice. It's not to say that you can't still tip over with a hard enough wind, you know what I mean? But that's right. 10 likes, Canada Doorman. We got to 11. Appreciate it, man. Z says use a bandsaw. Nice. Those bandsaw blades are getting to be expensive. Everything's getting expensive when it comes to those little things. It's kind of like they almost, it's getting like that printer thing, right? Where they sell you the printer and the printers are like, okay, the printer's like $200-300. It's not too bad. And then it's like the ink. You're like, the ink is $60 a piece, you know, for the black and for the color and for what the, you know, I'll just buy another printer, you know. Says he says yes, CHI needs that. Oh, I think I passed one here. Says I wish LiftMaster still sold those plug-in receivers. Those work better than the multi-code, I think. I don't think I know which receiver. Um, you know, I am just like I said. The big thing with multi-code for me is is really the customer base, because when you can set dip switches and you can document it, right? The fact that, like, especially on gate operators, garage doors, I don't really. Commercial gets me kind of where I like them. Residential, I don't need multi-code for that really. Um, I always thought what was it? Their outside keypads really stunk. They're really hard to program. Um, but anyways, on the gate side of it, like I said, it's you don't realize until you start doing business more and more and more and more and more, and you realize, like, I'm getting a call back, and then I gotta make a bill for this. Is it even worth making a bill? It's a good customer, blah blah blah. Oh yeah, so now you gotta start getting software, Job or whatever, Service Titan, all these other things, right? And then you gotta document it. It all takes time, takes time, takes time. And like I said, it stopped me in my tracks when that last customer was like, "We need remotes," and obviously I'm not gonna say anything, but this customer's always been kind of a pain in my hiney. And I thought, they get late on their bills sometimes. I don't think it's intentional. I think it gets overlooked, and it's like you got to almost ask like three people for approval, right? Anytime you do something. Oh, okay. Let me check. It's a pain. It's nothing but time consuming. We text, which I'm glad. Um, but just the most random problems. And the fact that they said we need more remotes, and I'm like, yabba dabba doo. That's my first thought, right? Yabba dabba doo. I'm your savior. You know what I mean? We're gonna show you some remotes. And I realized that remotes basically have darn near maybe zero to negative profit. That's just my opinion. I hate remotes. I mean, I'm not saying I hate them. I don't hate you, like, personally. I hate you when we got to interact when you're like the child between me and the other adult. There's a divorce that happened. You become, this is a headache. You know what I mean? And this is a problem. It's not you. It's the situation. And so I'm like, when I took this, I said, I can do this. And so what I ended up doing, I said, you know what? I consulted with the wife a little bit, and I said, I don't think this is worth it. I said, it's not worth the drive. It's a drive on a Friday. I said, the collision, that this and that, and then I said, knowing our luck, I said, we do have these remotes. We don't go through a ton of them, right? But the ones that I will touch or bring up there will be the ones that 3 out of 10 have dead batteries. And all that happens, see, like, what a lot of people don't understand with the garage doors and business and everything, it's a very psychological game. And so I said, and so what's going to be is the neighbor's going to get it, right? Or whoever she distributes this out to or whatever. And it's going to turn into, hey, you gave me this last week and this thing's junk. It doesn't work. And are they going to, like, psychologically? Probably not. Automatically? Probably not. Going to say, well, I should change the battery. Let me try to change the battery. If I change the battery, no. They're going to say, this is brand new and it didn't even last a week. Ah. And and it's going to go back to her. And what is she going to do? She's going to call me. Hey, and I'm going to have to say, yeah, well, did you try changing the remote or the battery? Well, how do I do that? Yeah, the list goes on, and it's like you just can't even be paid enough. So I was like, you know what? We're just going to do here's an Amazon link. These are what you need. Open the cover on yours and program them. You don't even have to walk outside, because the gate operator is a ways away, from their house. And so you don't have to go outside. You don't have to deal with the rodent that runs in front of you and you slip and fall and hurt yourself. Amazon can handle this. They can bring them to you. And all you have to do, like I said before, is you can be laying in bed, pop the cover open. Oh, there's what it needs to look the same on this one to this one. Okay, do that, distribute them. There's a problem. Wasn't me. Call, return them back to Amazon. I don't know what happened. You know what I'm saying? So you see, like, there's certain things you got to choose your battle. Sorry, I got a little rant on that. But I try to stress, because I was there and I see it in a lot of other people that are starting businesses, and I'm like, you have to remember, it's not about being busy. It's about being profitable. And I was busy at one time. I had so much work. Like I said, we had over $1 million in sales. And it's like I was left with $16,000 at the end of the year. And I'm like, what in the heck did I do? And I looked at everything. I went, oh, I made the vendor money, which I don't know their numbers, but I know the numbers are here. And then, oh, here's employees. Oh, yeah, okay. Here's fuel. Here's maintenance and everything on the vehicles. Holy crap. And like I said, next year, dropped it about 60,000 or something like that, and it was like, wow, we made like $10,000 more. So that's why sometimes just being busy doesn't mean you're being profitable, because everything you got to touch. Now you got to bill it. If you don't collect payment right there, you got to send them a receipt. And if you don't have those systems in place, it can really screw you, And then if you want those systems in place, that also costs money. So it's like I said, it's a hidden tax. It's a hidden inflation that people just don't see, because every time you're driving that vehicle, I know you're smart enough to realize that at some point the vehicle is going to wear out. At some point, the transmission is going to puke, the engine's going to wear out and break, and you replace it, or a brand new vehicle, or it's going to rust out. So you have to remember that every time you're touching stuff, it could be a callback. It could turn into 1, 2, 3, 6 callbacks. Let's hope not. That's a lot if it gets that high, but you just got to remember, everything you touch, now you're liable. David says, good name, by the way, says, these videos are great. Thanks for your time and commitment. Appreciate it. Like I said, and David, best thing you can do, like I said, you can always, if you guys can shoot me some emails, you can always email me at the daveadubson@gmail.com. I typically put in the description below. I don't think I did it on the last live, and I don't think I did it on this one. I did a boo-boo. I just jumped on. So I'm sorry, but you can always, if you need to look at it, look at my other videos, and it's typically in the description below. And you guys can always shoot me an email. And you guys are always more welcome, like I said, on here. If you got questions, and I don't basically, like, I don't take negativity. So somebody's going to be here bashing somebody. I don't mind creative construction, conversation, and we're trying to do better for each other. So don't be afraid to ask questions that you think are like, oh, that's really silly. I don't want to ask that, because like that's just because it's not. I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I was the one in school. I didn't ask. I didn't put my hand up, and I look at it now, and it's like every time I see anything or I'm working with somebody else, got a question. What? How do you do that? Like, why do you do that? You know what I mean? Because that's how you learn, and they can divulge more onto it and everything too. But definitely appreciate it. And like I said, we'll see how it goes. If a few more questions or anybody's got it, like I said, I'll stick on a little longer, but we'll shoot for about 11:30 or so. I'll jump off and see if I can go find a bed somewhere. Says, you guys do rolling steel a lot. So for us, it's really it kind of goes in waves. Like, it seems like we'll get like maybe like 2 or 3 when they come, like in a month, and then it's like it'll plateau out for 3, 4 or 5 months, and then it's like all of a sudden, boom, you'll get kind of another little raft of them. There's a couple things. I really try to stay away from rolling steel doors. The biggest thing is like I don't think they seal that good, for sealing. I also, the diagnosing for the next guy, which I always pray is not going to be me, but it normally is because you can't, like some of like, if you ever tore apart like a big rolling steel door, like the shaft. I learned this a long time ago. I'll give you this little information on it, so in case somebody's like, oh, maybe I would be the guy that just does it, whatever, blah blah. I did one it was for Herman Miller. Maybe some of you guys know Herman Miller. They actually make a lot of furniture, office chairs. They're up here, right? We worked for them. We did all their locations. And anyways, we did this one rolling steel door. And I remember when we found out a spring broke. First of all, I went up there and I was like, oh, it just needs a little more turns, right? So I probably put in like 3 more turns or something. And I remember that was my learning experience, right? Because I was going to hear a boom, an explosion inside. I'm like, that didn't sound good. And I realized that there was, sometimes they have 2 or 3 different springs in them, 4, just depends. Like, one's a soft spring, one's the heavy workhorse spring. Well, obviously the heavy workhorse spring broke, and I was winding the secondary light spring. So anyways, I'm like, oh, well, we got to take the barrel down. Took the barrel down, gutted it, did all this work, basically. Long story short, all this work, did it on the weekends, after hours, had to use the forklift to slide everything in and out because it was big. I found out for $600 more from what all I had invested in this parts, material, labor. For $600 more, I could get a whole new door. I was like, for $600, that's not worth it. And like I said, the slats were already damaged in a few of them. And I was like, we're gonna have to probably replace a few slats because otherwise you're gonna have Tweety birds coming in, and like, you know, and I couldn't believe when I heard. So I think we ended up. I Nah, that one we installed. We installed it, but the next one that broke, I was like, her name was Shelly. I think, hey Shelly. I was like, that was my boss. I said, like, this next one, or we're just gonna replace the whole thing. I was like, it's for like $1,200 for our labor. Like, you're gonna get a whole new like slats. Everything's brand new. Like, why are we gonna tear this barrel out of this thing? Like, it's just silly, you know what I mean? And then you got to measure everything really precisely. You got to talk to people on the phone. One of those things, again, very time consuming. Trying to deal with service spring, it's like you get to the point where you just literally want to take it down to them and go, here, make it identical, because it worked for 12 years or 30 years or whatever. Just make it identical, you know, because they'll make them basically from scratch. But if you don't got something right, and there's nothing the worst feeling that you waited, you know, 3 to 6 weeks, whatever it was, for that spring to finally come up, and you pull it out of the package and you're like, why is this spring at half an inch or an inch taller than what the other one is? Oh my gosh. And what is that going to cause? You know, and there's nothing worse than doing all this work and you get to the point where that day where you just go, well, we're going to roll with it. You install it. The opener's hemorrhaging. You know, it's the chains kind of doing its thing. You can hear it and you're going, oh man, this is not good. Like something's off. So instead, you know what I mean? If you order a whole new door for rolling steel, you can play dumb. Well, what do you mean? You can play dumb. You let's say you go to use the door by hand or the opener, or something's not right. Now you can call the manufacturer and go, hey, this door you guys sent me, it's junk. They're like, what do you mean it's junk? We'll have to send a salesperson by there in the next couple days or 3 or 6 days, whatever. You know what I mean? And you can show them, and it's like, yeah, it's not working, is it? You know what I mean? So you have that extra support where now that you installed all the springs and are hoping and praying, it's on you, buddy. Well, that's what you told us. You approved it. You signed the paperwork for the spring to be made to this dimension and everything. And you're like, maybe, yes, but that's not what I told the person on the phone, and they must have put something in the computer wrong. And God, like you have no support. So that's why sometimes new is nice. It's nice for employees. Sometimes it's nice for yourself and your dignity, your psychological brain power, because you get things rolling, right? And if you're just dealing with old stuff sometimes, it's really super hard to, you know, like you have no support. But when somebody sells you something new, right? Everybody's done it, right? Your mom or dad or grandpa, right? They get that new car, and that car, something's not right. Now, you mean to tell me I paid, you know, $50, $60, $120,000 for this new pickup truck and it doesn't run down the road? Well, we're sorry, sir. Yeah, that seems a little silly. We're going to take care of it for you. But if it's you put a motor or something in it, right? We don't know what you did. We don't know what you screwed up. Did you change the fuel filter? Did you put injectors in it? Like, go away. We'll get to you when we can. You're at our mercy. You know what I mean? See how things always change? Oh, what's these guy got? He says, the thing I like about the multi-code is the battery. Ooh. Eric, man, I'm so glad you brought that up. Easy to change, man. Quick and easy to change. That is so true, and I totally forgot that. That is one thing. Because these new ones, you know, the LiftMaster stuff, these things are a booger, man. You got to tell the customer, you know, you got to open it, which a lot of you guys, I don't know if a lot of guys know this. They might. I always use this. I use the clip to open up all my remotes, typically. Like this one it'll work. But use the clip. I didn't know that. I learned that on my own. So use the clip. The multi-code works really good. Take the clip off, and it'll help you. Because I used to always like use a coin, or I used to you know, find like a screwdriver or something, and it's finally like one day it's like, hey, this is a match made in heaven. It's like it's meant to be. Ow. So But that's a great point because like everybody knows what a 9 volt battery, like everybody grew up with that. Where those other flat batteries, these remotes, all these different remotes have like, the 30, 32. I mean, you can just, it just seems like, you know what I like about a 9 volt battery? You know what I really like? You can stick it on your tongue and you can feel it. And you're like, oh, this is good, or it's bad, or it's, you know what I'm saying? The other ones, I don't think you can do that. I never tried anyways. So that's a good point. Good. Glad you brought that up. Okay. Is that Kanirvi? That's a hard one for me. I'm sorry. I'm going to call you K. Can you just go to the distributor and ask for remotes without batteries? Or potentially just bulk order batteries and replace them during initial install? So, far as I know, so here's the thing. I know some of the remotes, right? Great question, by the way. So some of the remotes actually have the tags, right? Just like what you've seen maybe with TV remotes or whatever, right? You gotta pull the tag. That is a very possibility. You know what I'm saying? So yes. So in I guess it's like one of those things. So why the remotes? Just to put this out there, the remotes are a bear, and I don't like remotes. They're kind of like the light bulbs. I don't like light bulbs, but you got to do them. Is the problem you run into is that with the remote, there's no money. There's no money in remotes. Remotes remind me so much of light bulbs because if I told you right now, I looked at you and said, "Hey, you want a light bulb? I got a light bulb for you. It's right here, right? Here's the light bulb. It's $50." You go, $50? Because here's the thing. You have knowledge on it. You have the power of the internet to go scan all over and go, I can get it delivered to me for $24. This guy wants $50. He's nuts. And if I have to order 10 of them, that's an X amount of savings. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I found out with customers is that anytime you shrink this stuff down to like remotes, light bulbs, it's easier for them to calculate. Like that's why I think there's better profits and stuff in like fencing. There's better profits in like roofing or whatever, and garage doors when you do like a whole package, right? Because it kind of just throws them. Yes, they might get prices from other people and stuff, but like they don't want to put the effort into it. They don't have stuff, but like when you tell them, say, yeah, our garage door openers are $600 or $800, and they're like, but I'm walking past the Home Depot today, and they sell one for $165. Why is yours so much? I just need the darn thing to go up and down. Like I don't need it to dance for me or wash my dishes. I need to push a button. And it goes, why do you want $600 or $800? I don't understand. Are you making that kind of money? Because what they do, right, as a customer, they assume, right, to some weird magical theory, dragon juice, whatever you call it, they assume that you're purchasing it even cheaper than what the box stores are. And that's not the case, typically. You know what I mean? The box stores normally got it down as low as it's going to go. So the remotes have been problems for me because they sell them in the store for, $36 to $40. And when I come in there and say, yeah, the remote's, $45, $50, like, well, I was just at the store and I can buy it. And you're like, you're right. And then what's always the kicker is when you try to tell them, say, by the way, like for me to come out and do this remote, like, I gotta charge you a service call, and maybe it's 65, maybe it's 120. They're like, what? And then the problem is, right, if it's your install, your stuff, the problem you run into now is now you're scared to death that they're gonna mess with it and they're gonna hold the button while you're trying to explain to them. Now tap the button, hit the remotes, repeat, and then they call you, 2 hours later, well, I screwed up. I think I messed it up. Well, what happened? I held the button too long, I think, and I erased everything. Oh my gosh. And what the problem is for this on a gate, at least, is the problem you run into is that, let's say it's a multiple place, right? Multiple locations or multiple customers, like think of a subdivision. Can you imagine? That's what I ran into. I didn't say it in that video. That's what I ran into. The circuit board died in it, right? I think we had a lightning storm and it got zapped or something. I had to change the board out. And the first thing I went to, oh my gosh. There's 26 plus remotes out there that are in people's cars, homes, And these people got big money. Like, I mean, they're taking airplanes. They got Florida homes. They got California homes. They got Hawaii homes. And I'm going, oh my gosh. And I'm thinking, to get 26 remotes back, and I did. I asked them for them, right? And they did the best they could. It took like 2 weeks. I got a Ziploc bag full of every freaking kind of different remote you could think of. I got TV remotes in here. I mean, I'm just like, this is a genie. This doesn't program. Like, this is not the original. I mean, it was a nightmare. And I just said, you know what? I said, we're done. I said, guess what, guys? Everybody's getting new remotes. That technology is obsolete when they don't know they're reversing. So we went to the multi-code. I had a similar problem again. Something happened. I had to do something, and I thought, oh, it got zapped. And I went, nope. I said, because it's right here in this receiver. It's already programmed with dip switches. I just put this receiver or program a new receiver. You know, I think the receiver maybe puked out or something. I can't remember. So those are just the things that can save you so much time and energy, right? Because you get to the point where you're like, you know, to do this is like, this is like $2,000. And they're like, we're not paying $2,000 for you to order us another 40 remotes. And, you know, for your time, I don't understand where you can even come up with this. Well, because the inconvenience, you know. So that's why it's really tough in business. You're always really trying to look ahead. I always say for the next guy, which is typically you know, but you're looking ahead going, what kind of problems we're going to have? What kind of problems we're going to have? What's in the future? But great question. Great question. Eric says, what's up, Eric? I don't think you've been yakking at all tonight. Eric says, a rolling steel are probably one of the easiest doors to install. Work on them is harder, but they are longer lasting. We never change springs, just swap barrels. Oh, so see, that's a great. I mean, Eric, I I totally agree with you. I mean, I'm gonna throw in like my 2 cents on a different part. So here's what we've ran into, right? We've had a customer, maybe you guys even know it. It's Brunswick, make the bowling balls and bowling pins and stuff. We have that in our local area. We work for them. They built this building, right? It was built like it almost reminds you like military. Like it just, I mean, they can pull full semis in their docks. You know, I mean, just a phenomenal old school building, right? Well, that's what they had. They had rolling steel doors. And the problem is that when they age, so we couldn't find a manufacturer. We were taking slat chunks out. I mean, we were calling everybody, and everybody's like, we don't know who this is. And even if it is us, it's so old, we don't even have it anymore. So we were running into the problem that, and I did one to get them going, of course, right? And the thing is, these are, I think they're 20-some feet wide, 22, 23. Basically, two semis can back into them is the idea. And they're 14 tall. And I remember it very vividly. I changed out the barrel and the spring because we had to get it up and running because we ordered the new doors. We did sectional. But they didn't want to wait. So we need to get the spring going, or this thing. And I told them, I said, look, it's going to be extra. And I said, it's not, we're basically going to throw it away once the new door comes in. Nope, we want it. We want it. We got production. We got to get this stuff out. Okay. And I mean, it was such a nightmare. I remember that one was really big too. I literally had to take the scissor or forklift I had, chain it to the barrel and pull it. Super greasy. I mean, get all the dimensions, double check, triple check everything. It was such a problem. So I mean, yes, rolling steel does. Once you kind of get them up and you go, I mean, it's like you don't have to do back hangs and track and all that. They are super nice, but it's the future is what I look for. We had one too with slats, even changing slats. I took a chunk off. I tried sending to vendors even on that. Still had problems after problems, and we ended up ordering a whole new curtain that was very close. Or we had to just do the bottom, and come to find out it was still a little different, and it was hinging funny at the top. Luckily, the door didn't go up all the way. Just a lot of little things that can be problematic, I guess. What's he got? Says, I agree, Eric. He says, especially Cornell's. Oh, yeah, the good old Cornell's. Eric says, if it's not a CH door, we recommend a new door. Says we order 20,000 cycle springs, which is smart. I think Cornell's suck. They are always stretched on one side and get crooked. That might be valid. I can't really say. We deal with a lot more Wayne Dalton rolling steel. They do pretty good. The Cornells, Cornell seems like they're kind of cliquey. Like you got to be in with them. You know what I mean? And you got to be. They only have so many vendors, or vendors in a certain area. So it's somebody's not having a good time. Says Tony says know what I like about winding springs. Have a Surewinder. LOL says, what do you think, Dave? The spring turner worked. I think the Surewinder, like I said, I was talking about earlier. We got to get them together. Hopefully, I just talked to. I was talking to Josh, and it could be about 2 or 3 weeks, maybe, or a little longer. They're getting some stuff done. He's got an opener, so I was kind of hoping to kind of swoop through and meet up with Tony and shoot the crap with him. See if we can kind of line these things up. This is only done one stage. Never do Metro rolling steel. I've seen them too. I think those are kind of big in the malls. So I feel like the rolling steel curtains. So that's kind of interesting. So what's the guy? Is it Gallo? This is replacing a 16x8 overhead door. Rolling steel doors is only 5 years old, but can't get replacement slats at a reasonable price. So we are replacing with CHI rolling steel. Yeah, that's another thing is some of these vendors, and it's super difficult, you guys. It really is. I mean, sometimes these people are they're not working in your favor, these vendors. So they'll run something for 5 or 10 years, and it's like they change it so they can just wash their hands of it, right? Like, oh, we don't even carry that anymore. You know what I mean? So you're gonna have to just replace it. It's really difficult. I think Menards is really good about it with their openers, residential openers. I think there's a reason they do that, because then when people come in, they're like, oh, we don't even sell that anymore. You're just gonna have to just get a new one. And they're like, oh, but if they left a product in there for so long, can you imagine people coming in? Oh, this thing only made it 10 years. What, you guys got parts for this? We don't really sell parts. What do you mean you don't sell parts? You guys sold me this. You don't sell parts, and can you imagine keeping the inventory and blah, blah. They don't want to do that. They want to sell you something new. They want to sell, and I think these manufacturers are starting to wise up to this. That's why door sections and stuff change, the profiles. We don't carry that one anymore. You're going to have to get this one. Well, I can't get that one. I got to have to get a whole... That's what we want. Go ahead and get a new one. Eric says, how much does one remote cost? It kind of varies. I think the remotes are... They're typically $40, $50, $60, just depending on what model remote you're buying, and 3-button, 1-button. But like I said, the problem is the power of the internet. I mean, if you guys are kind of old like me, which I know some of you aren't, but do you remember like when you were a kid, do you remember riding around with your mom or your dad or both or whatever as a family, and there were certain roads you went down to look for a car? You know what I mean? Like we're looking for a black, maybe Cutlass Supreme, something newer, whatever, right? And that's how you went and looked for a car. And you were like, man, if you found one, that guy, he was asking a little bit of money, but you didn't want to drive out of town and deal with outside, somebody else has one, right? You made a phone call. Think about how all that's changed. And that's kind of the thing with the remotes now. Is like I said, anybody, even if you give them a price and they say, okay, they still might go that night or evening or whatever it is and go look online and be like, why are you like, hey, I don't want those. You know what I mean? You're like, what do you mean? Like, I already ordered them. And they're like, well, I was looking online. I can get them for like $10 cheaper. And I'm getting, 40 of them, so, it's cheaper. So that's why, to me, it's like, you know what, and you can do all the shopping you want. You know what I mean? Like, you want to buy them from Amazon? You want to buy direct from LiftMaster? You get your Prime, you get whatever, you get free delivery. Go for it, baby. It was funny because Josh I think there's something that's going to be a trend in the future, but he ordered winding bars, and I believe they were just from Amazon. I was like, where'd you get these? Like they're round stock or something. I was giving him a little bit of crap about them or something. And he's like, Amazon. I'm like, really? I'm like, wow, and I'm thinking like you guys that are like, it's amazing to me. It's so much easier nowadays for people to start businesses, yet they don't in a sense, because you have so many resources. You have Amazon, you got the box stores, all these things are at your disposal. You got this thing right here that we never had, the internet, to interact with somebody like me, ask questions, bounce off ideas. Hey, come help me out. I got a situation. It's amazing. It really is. So there's a place in Chicagoland that makes slats, I believe, for all kinds. Oh, that's good to know. That's good to know, because that'd be a heck of a. It's kind of like when they make those retainers for door sections that'll make them universal for different, to adapt. I don't know if anybody's ever used them. They work pretty good. They're a little pricey, but it's nice to have an option. If you're in a situation where it's like two sections are damaged, you can't get them. They're a priority brand, like Overhead or something, and you're like, if I just had the conversion, it works out good. What's Kevin says, I'm not a door tech, I'm a welder, so I'm not sure what exactly rolling steel slats look like. That's a great question. Those seem like something that might be easier to just replace with some thin gauge. So let me, I can show you, because I got the shop here, and this one was free from the customer, different story. Let's see. Lights, please. So right here, this is the problem. This is rolling steel. This one's a Wayne Dalton. But you see, it doesn't have no track. No track, it just coils up. The problem is that this is a very unique groove for this particular door. That opener is an old LiftMaster that was free. But when this thing breaks one day, I got to take this cover off. I got to get into the barrel. Luckily, this is a very small door, but it's a real pain in the hiney. Like I said, I don't have the weather seal on here, but they don't seal good with the wind for this area. You got another point right here that can leak for air. I just don't particularly like them. We've had this one jam up, so now you got to hold the button. Because for whatever reason, the two photo eyes didn't catch it. This one's old, so I had two photo eyes on there, and it had a timer on it. I put a timer in here. And one day, I don't know what happened, door went crooked, and I was like, forget this. I said, you're just going to have to push a button and hold on to it. Versus, man, we got light bulbs dead in here. I have to talk to the property manager. A sectional door, I can see everything. Oh, you can't really see up there. Oh, I got a broken spring. You know what I mean? Like, everything's visual. So, like I said, it's just not really easy to make these. It's not like a flat piece of tin. Plus, like this door here, this rolling steel, these are insulated. So there's actually insulation foam injected into this. So you got to get, and then you got to have the right profile. Ugh, they can be such time consumers. They're not my favorite. Okay, what's there got here? Let's see here. It says how much is multi-color remote and receiver where you can get, where can I get them? Like I said, I'm a big service spring guy. You can buy them. I'll see if they got some in the display here. But you can get them from basically anywhere online. The hardest thing is like, so this was like right here was the first design back in the day, right? This little 3-tabber, that used to go on a lot of old school openers. Like the one I have out here in the shop will have the 3 prongs. So that's kind of obsolete nowadays because nobody has that unless you go like with the Power Master. Let's see if they got the goodies. All right, so here's the goodies. So here, this is what you got. What screws me up sometimes, or well, it did at one time, is you got 300, and and 310 on there. So what is this? This says one is $56. And here's a remote if you want a one channel. This runs supposedly 17, basically it's 16 something dollars, but 17 bucks. The big thing though is I don't really use these much where you plug them into an outlet. I normally steal the power off whatever it is, the gate operator, the snap. But these, so this one says, what is the difference between these two? 3 coax and bulkhead connector. I don't know what the difference is between these two. Okay, so this one's a 2-channel. So you got a 2-channel or you got the 1-channel. And they're just, you got 4 wires. You got 2 for power, 2 for trigger. They're real simple. So Service Spring, you can Google them. Just when it comes to like the gate operators. Doors, just depending on the situation. Commercial is nice because I've come some places in commercial, right? Let's say they got 12 forklifts and they've already been using multi-code, which is really nice. You can take the receiver off the old unit, wire it, get a different receiver, power it up. It's been a life changer for me. I've always liked multi-code. It's been around a long time, and they just seem to work. Are they spectacular like the Range or something? No, but I'm not going to say I know another brand that's going to whoop them or be a lot better. I just know that multi-code, I like that they click, the relays inside click, they work, they're pretty bulletproof. I have hardly ever, I mean, we got probably boxes or these ones that we've taken off old openers that we don't even want them anymore, right? And there's nothing wrong with them. They just don't seem like they have a failure. Do they once in a while? Yes, everything does. But it's just not constantly. That's what I like about them. It says, I recommend slats with thin gauge steel before, but you can only do it at the bottom, right? And you can only open the door you can't open the door all the way. You have to stop it before the sheet goes past the header. Exactly. And another thing, just for some of you guys, just a tidbit, if you made it this long, I personally, with rolling steel doors, if you got the headroom, order the door. If you're doing a new install, order a foot or 2. I mean, if you want to go 3 foot, whatever, but obviously it's going to cost more. Go above the header, because when you got that curtain sitting there, it doesn't hurt for dropping. You know what I mean? That weight sitting there, that extra foot, and it goes up. You can even make it stop right at the header so it doesn't look too gaudy. But that weight helps tremendously. And I think I'm right with this statement. It's a little late at night, so my brain's a little foggy. But if you had to pull a slat out and remend it back together, you could technically do it because the door is not being sucked up all the way. So you got options. So I've beaten myself before that. Order the door another foot or 2 taller, because it's nice to stop it at the header, and yet there's another foot for it to get sucked up in the barrel, where I've had them where they get old, they get bent up, they've been beaten up, they get caught, right? Because they don't have the weight to pull down. And then if you pull it down, it works fine. And you spray lube it or whatever, it works fine. But how long is it going to work for? I don't know, So I replace slats with thin gauge, with gauge sheet. Right, so that's right. It says, hit the like for Dave. We're at 11. We should have got at 12. We should have shot for 12. But anywho, Tony, I hope you kept all your fingers. I hope they didn't beat you up too bad. What's he got here? Somebody jumped on. Is it Michael? Michael, advice for finding the right job. Ooh, it's kind of a deep question. Advice for finding the right job. Can we go into can we add, if you're trying to find the right job, you're talking about with a customer for in the garage door, or are you just talking about randomly in life? Because that rabbit hole, there's a lot of different ways that can go. The customers are very difficult. You got to use your gut. I would have used my gut a lot more. And with work, if you can start finding something that you kind of actually enjoy, it doesn't feel so bad with being work. That's all I can say on the work part of it. Do something that you definitely kind of enjoy. It's more of almost feels like a hobby a little bit, and then you get paid for it. And just remember, you got to take small steps, man. It takes a lot of work to get, where you want to go. LiftMaster, you can still do dip switches. Okay, nice. Yeah, I think you program the remote to the something 8LM, and then you just copy the dip switches on the first remote. Yeah, it's kind of a weird, goofy. Like I know you can, like the Universal has dip switches in it. So, but I don't know about that newer. Like I said, everything's trying to push it towards digital stuff. Um, but like I said, it's always when the host, right, like the gate operator or the opener does the Houdini, and those remotes are spread out. it's like ants. It's like hiding them all back, to the nest when you need them during the day. It's like impossible. They're out everywhere. Tony says, "Stay small, keep it all." That's a good saying. I'm gonna have to make a shirt that says that. My cousin has 3 doors. One has an old wood grain Sears. Oh yeah. And garage door with 2 LiftMaster chain drives. I want to put. Oh, okay. So I'm glad you mentioned that. I want to put all multi-code on all the openers. That's a great idea. Actually, excuse me. My old house. What was it? 4 doors. I had them all linked. So that was the way to do it, because I had old school. I did. I think there was 2 Genie screwdrives, older screwdrives, and then it had 2 was the Sears with wood grain on them. And all you had to do is just get them on the trigger. I think the one you could just do for like the normal terminals for the wall button. The others were the same too, I guess. Now I think of it, it's nothing big there. But the multi-code, a little tricky with the 4-channel, but it can be done. You got to play around. I'd recommend doing it on like a weekend or when you got time. Don't do it like in a super rush and get frustrated and be like, "Why is this thing working?" But that's what it works great for. And the receivers work good. They work great. That'd be the way to go. It's just where they get to be a little fuzzy. What I don't like is I don't like the keypads. The keypads are hard to program. It seems like when they lose the battery, they can lose the memory sometimes. Basically, AKA like most of the time. But other than that, besides their outside keypads, they're pretty good. They want remotes that controls all 3 doors. Yeah, exactly. I had a 4 button remote. I don't have, is there one over there? We got one? Do we got one? I don't see one. I think we got the single buttons here, but we have to get a 4 button. I don't think they make a 3. It's like 1, 2, and then I think it goes to 4. Michael says, "I like your vibe. The stream is relaxing." Awesome. Well, unfortunately, I'm going to hit the road. It's running a little late. Tomorrow's supposed to rain, so it's going to be kind of a gloom and doom, it sounds like. But it's still a Saturday. There's stuff that needs to get done. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, night, morning, whatever you watch this. Thanks for being here. And remember, if you guys have anything, you guys can always email me. I see Randall jumped in with one. Worked on a couple gates today. Double gates. With LiftMaster openers, front gates, had Chamberlain, and down for a year and a half now. I got them working. Awesome, man. Good for you. Like I said, if there's a will, there's a way. That's how it goes. Just remember that. If there's a will, there's a way. You know what I mean? You just gotta, it's time or money. So like Tony says, keep it small, keep it all. Just remember, keep your head above water. All right, guys, I'm out. Have a good one. We'll see you. Thanks for being here. Good night.